Okay. Let me get the link. Oh god, it's always such a struggle for me to like figure out where the hell the link is for this thing. Oh, I think it's this. Jesus. What the? Oh god. Amateurish. I've completely forgotten how to manipulate and work.
Been a while since you did a podcast.
Yeah. Okay, here's the link.
I I streamed earlier and didn't realize the first 4 minutes was in like complete silence. Just it's amazing how you just forget technology.
Can one of y'all put this on and make sure it's not messed up?
All right, I see you. I hear you.
I, I,
It looks
I
like a blank
yeah.
screen.
Check.
Check. Yep.
Do you see me and stuff?
We do, yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Hello.
The-
Welcome.
What's up, man? Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to start it in just a sec. Hello and welcome to Bad End Podcast. This is episode number 118. It is I, your host, Josh Calixto. Kyle's still out. If people are concerned about the state of Kyle's health, it has been a very long time since we've been on the air. Do not fear. Kyle is in great shape. He's just a very busy person. I've mentioned this on the last episode, but he's had just like super significant life changes. A lot of stuff that he's being a responsible adult man, and he's been wanting to come on the show, but getting a hold of him, I feel like before like all these big life changes happened recently, he was like already difficult to get a hold of, but now even more so. But I wanted to get back on the airwaves, back in the mix. And so we are doing an end of 2022 episode because it simply would not be right if we weren't back on for the end of the year conversation. But joining us today are a few listeners. Actually, the lifeblood of this show is the people who listen, the people who are part of our community. And we have 3 guests right now, and then we'll have a few more later. But today we're joined by Devin Raposo. We have Ikaw, and we also have Matthew Wedig. Say hello, everyone. You don't have to like give a full-on introduction of yourselves. I want to keep this like at least a little. I want to give you guys like a little bit of space in the end. We can kind of plug some stuff. But yeah, say hello, y'all.
Hello, I'm Ika.
Hi, I'm Devin Raposo, longtime freelance writer of games.
I'm Matthew Wedig. I wrote for Kill Screen once.
Sweet.
My credentials.
That's more than most other people in the world. um,
Can't do that anymore.
yeah, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, it's exclusive.
Yeah, you got the chance to write for one of the most illustrious video game publications of all time. But that being said, that was a long time ago. We are now in the year 2022, which is wild to me because, I mean, I think it's safe to say we live in this like sort of slightly post-COVID world. Like 2021 was like we were kind of dipping our feet back in a little bit and getting used to things. This year has like been a big adjustment year, and one of the strangest years of my life when it comes to like what the world looks and feels like. And I think that's very much been reflected in the video games. I don't know if you all agree if what's happening in video games is completely separate from COVID. But to me, it feels like there's a lot of stuff going on in games that is like a consequence of this weird, bizarro world state we're in right now.
Yeah, I feel like this was the year that we saw the result of a lot of the like not to get to like games industry nerdy, but like a lot of the like COVID delays, and I feel what you mean, where it almost feels like everyone's like waiting for 2023, like in the macro, beyond just gaming. Like everyone's like, oh, 2023, that's gonna be the year. Gonna go to Japan, gonna do this, gonna do that. And it's like, 2023, that's the year. Gonna finally get that Zelda, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has definitely felt like waiting in the wings.
In fact, I think that it would have felt like an almost throwaway year if Elden Ring hadn't come out for video games. Does that sound
Those are
right?
milestone releases, yeah. I can get behind that.
I just
I
can't.
was
feel
waiting
like-
for you to say. I was waiting for you to say Pokemon Arceus, and I was like, yeah, totally. Because apparently that's the only game I played this year.
I can't believe that came out this year. In addition to what was the new one? Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, the one that came out like a week ago.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we did get
Yeah.
two, dream Pokemon games theoretically. To child Josh, they were dream Pokemon games, and we did get two of them in the span of a year, and they just kind of went by. I don't want to say without consequence, but they definitely did not like shatter expectations the way that I think one might have thought they would have when they were younger.
Maybe
feel like-
I mean, this is like super like small, like representative of like who I talk to. I have like 3 friends who play video games, but people like I was talking with a bunch of people about Pokemon Arceus, like people who like I just like had not been talking about video games with, were like this was like a sustained sense of conversation, which is why weirdly it feels to me like both like, oh yeah, that came out, but also like, well, obviously that's the game of the year. It's the only thing that everyone was playing. All 2 people I talked to about video games.
Yeah, really, to me that game was Elden Ring, but I think Elden Ring was also like a pretty gamer's game.
Yeah, you can't say that about Pokemon.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
It is open to more people though in general. It's just that the Arceus shtick, I think, feels like it's such a new recipe for the Pokemon series that it's hard to know like how big it hit outside of like the core gamer sphere that like I guess I usually associate myself with, or at least that I like pay more attention to. So like a lot of the impact on and what circles that it had an effect on were kind of to an extent more invisible to me than something like Elden Ring would have been.
It's a weird thing where I heard that Scarlet and Violet were like the fastest selling Switch games ever, or something along those lines.
Wow. That makes
Um,
sense to me.
and yeah, for sure. And even in the midst of like all the technical problems, like it feels like in our corner of the universe, that stuff dominated the conversation, right? Like all the memes.
Right.
Here, oh, he did like a weird face, and it got stuck, and here's all this crazy popping. But like, I feel like that's one of those games, that and like Splatoon 3, where it's like they come out and they sort of like occupy their own corner of the world that is hard to make sense of when you're in this like gamery kind of like hanging out with critics in a Discord space, which is it's just not what we are used to.
Do you think this is partially a Nintendo thing though? Because Nintendo has always been to an extent kind of isolated from like the rest of video game industry bullshit, and it kind of feels like the same story for them this year, which honestly it seems to benefit them more every year, that they can kind of operate in this bubble and do their own thing and still be really successful. And I guess Pokemon by extension to the Pokemon company, they don't need to have these like massive platform games to succeed. And in a year where it's starting to feel more and more like the rest of the industry needs that in order to have like any sort of impact whatsoever, they were able to kind of effectively create these bubbles for themselves by just like staying in their lane and doing what they do best, almost.
What's your definition of massive platform game? You're talking about like God of War Ragnarok.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What's your definition of massive platform game that you mentioned there? Are you saying like God of War Ragnarok is like that for Sony?
Oh, no, no. I'm talking about like the
Oh, like live platform. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha.
something like even Marvel Snap, which is the new one that we're currently obsessed with in our Discord. Um, but there's so many, like all the ones that have been around forever. Some of the newer ones like Valorant. You have any game that's been out for a long time that's receives extensive updates. That's kind of the norm for games now. It's what everyone plays. Um, and so it almost feels like harder to find these like big single player AAA releases that have a significant impact. And really this holiday season, I remember the holiday season used to be like, and this isn't me being nostalgic or whatever. I'm just saying there's been some kind of a shift, which is like during the holidays, it was like you had like a few massive games that were coming out every year, and it was like something you kind of looked forward to. And now, like even God of War Ragnarok was like it's this sequel that didn't feel like it was like an earth-shattering release again. Um, it got attention, but it's nowhere near something like the new Modern Warfare patch or whatever. I don't know. It just it feels like we're there now. We're at that point where like the single player AAA game is not the center of the video game universe anymore in a way that's like really clear in front of us for us to see.
Well, it's this weird thing where like so God of War Ragnarok um was like the fastest, highest selling PlayStation Studios game ever, apparently. Or that was according to like a graphic they put out. But I do agree with you where like we're a month out from its release and it feels like it kind of came and went. Like that's the kind of game that you play once and you go, that was okay. All right, bye. And maybe you like chat a little bit about it with your friends, but they have inherent shelf life.
Right.
And like it's this weird thing where like they've been working on that game since probably even before God of War 2018. And yet like I saw a Sony Santa Monica employee who they're the studio that made the game basically say something to the effect of what we're talking about, where it's like, isn't it weird how quickly that came and went? Whereas, like you said, Josh, like these games like Marvel Snap or like, people are talking about the new Fortnite season or whatever it is. Like they dominate the conversation in a way that God of War just can't because it's like a static thing.
Right. And the industry has been heading in this direction for years now, so it's definitely nothing new. But I think in previous year-end discussions that we've had on this show and that I've had on Bullet Points, our kind of sibling podcast, go check them out, Bullet Points Monthly. We've talked about the end of video games as we know them, and how these platforms are kind of taking over what we used to think of as video gaming. And it feels like it's here. Like it doesn't feel like it's the end of the world, but it definitely does seem like we live in a very different world. And 2022 is really the year, I think, for me, where it's become clear that like we simply live in a different world when it comes to games. We're not going to have that like holiday rush of different releases with new IPs being introduced. Like, dude, new IP is freaking. That's you get that maybe
Like
once
Callisto
every
Protocol.
few years. Oh Jesus,
That's gonna slip in as the big seller this year.
That's I that there's probably some truth to that. Yeah. Maybe a lot of this is that like I don't care about a lot of these games that have gotten sequels this year. Like if it was Zelda or something, I might have been like, gaming's back, baby. But it would just be another sequel to these games. But because it's like Horizon Forbidden West, I'm just like, all right, dude, Do your thing. Go off, Horizon. Fucking go off, God of War Ragnarok. I actually have been playing God of War Ragnarok, and good lord, have you all played this game?
No.
It's a slog, dude. Like, I am every couple hours I spend playing this, I'm like, this game needed to be shorter. It doesn't feel like anything's happening. Like, I there's all this plot occurring, and none of it has any like significance or impact to me whatsoever. All the characters are like super meh, and I don't know. It feels like very bad prestige TV. I felt like the first one was definitely better. God of War 2018. Devin, did you play it? Did you play this one at all? No?
He's gone.
Devin.
My brother played the first one and he loved it.
Mm.
That's my input on the conversation. I played Chains of Olympus on PSP. Good game.
Yeah. I never played that one. But, I mean, all this is to say, I just feel like maybe it's just one thing that I feel like we don't really think about when it comes to video games is the extent to which games rely on scheduling and like just the circumstances of like how many years it takes to make these things. And when they come around finally, like, it's just like your number's up. And if you had a year where just the ones that were up were just so happen to be the franchises that you didn't really resonate with, then so be it. And maybe this is just one of those years for me, although it does feel like we have less, the carousel has like less seats on it than it used to. That's my like major trend of 2022. Are we being joined by a wild Zach Coates?
It's possible.
What's up, Zach? This is being recorded, so you could just like talk if you want to be on the app.
Oh, okay. Hello. I got all the Discord messages. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on, but hello, everybody.
Yep.
Sorry, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. You're
Okay,
back.
sorry, I was having some weird mic issues. I did play God of War Ragnarok though.
Okay. What did you think?
I think I probably liked it the most out of everybody in not just this chat or this stream, but like our Discord. But I definitely like the farther away I get from it, and the more I talk about it with other people, I definitely see the kind of like simmering mediocrity that, you know, in the moment you just sort of put blinders on sometimes and go, oh, you know, I'm just like chilling out with this game, like having a decent time. And now it's sort of like, yeah, that story kind of sucked. A lot of those characters were ass. There still just weren't enough like big like God of War moments. Like when you think about like the old games, how they were about like just tearing down titans and gods and like ripping them limb from limb. You know, not to sound like a psychopath, but like that was kind of the appeal of those games, was they were these like big set piece games. Even before Uncharted sort of like took that mantle. And now it's like you kind of have to like beg and plead for one of those moments. Yet the games are like, you know, this game's like 5 hours long, for 5 hours longer, five times longer, excuse me, than the first game, or 2018 rather.
It's too
Or
long. It's too long.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's corny, and it feels very much like person who was an edgy in their youth and then like got older and like now is a dad and they have to like be, you know, mature and shit. But I don't know, a lot of the writing and stuff feels corny to me. The combat and stuff is like the exact same shit, so it's like it's not really giving me anything new in that department. I have heard it gets better toward the end, so I guess I'm holding out for that, but it's just not really doing it for me right now. But that's what we have to deal with right now, and you know, there we are. Um, let's what are y'all's favorite games of this year? Let's get into that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think I have like two that I'm split between. One is Neon White, which we had a kind of hot and heavy moment with in the Superculture Discord around when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think y'all talked about it with Blake Hester.
Yeah.
But, like one of my favorite gaming moments of this year uh was definitely like just doing that one level from the first world or whatever over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And like just trying to like beat y'all, and then it's like, oh my God, I got like 0.05 seconds faster. Like I gotta drop this screenshot in there. And then by the time you look, it's like, crap, dude. Kyle's got me by 4 seconds. Josh has got me by 10.
When somebody comes through with that like 10-second skip, and
Oh
you're
my
just like,
God,
whoa,
dude.
whoa, whoa, whoa. It's all changed. And
Yeah,
then,
and
yeah.
so, well, I was gonna say, like that was like one of my favorite moments, but I felt like a lot of people I know stopped playing it. Like maybe got to like the third world at most.
Hmm.
Um, but I ended up sticking with it, and I actually kind of like started to feel okay about the writing. I still think it's like not great. And it makes a really bad first impression. The sort of like, faux 90s VHS anime thing. I don't know. It's even for people, somebody that's like way into that sort of that era of anime, it's a rough kind of sell in itself. But I think like the game just gets more complex while also still feeling straightforward, It
Hmm.
never like I think the cards they introduce later on are really cool. Um and the music just continues to be stellar from top to bottom. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that game was sort of forgotten. But I think Neon White is really stellar, and I think like it does like one of my favorite things in a game, which is this is a weird thing to say, but like it ends really strong, which you really can't say for even like Elden Ring, which is a game I love. I kind of felt like it kind of like dragged itself to the finish line, whereas Neon White, I was like, damn. This is like this last level is like one of the best things I've played in years.
I've heard it's really good. I got to
Yeah.
get back and finish it because I did keep playing it too. I got like a few more worlds in, and I kept on noticing it was like it continued to get bigger, and better, and just introduced more like wild concepts that were just like that still made a lot of sense. Were still fun. Um, I think like art style wise, it it locked down this like low poly kind of PS2 reminiscent, but clearly not PS2 level of fidelity look really well, and it reminded me of like almost Paradise Killer or something, but in a way that was like a
Yeah.
lot more cohesive and fleshed out. And it's just like one of the best movement shooters that I've ever played, like bar none, just because it is so accessible and so fun just to like just cruise through a level and just like feel like you're getting better at it. But
Yeah, like it's easy to get good enough at it that you start to feel like, oh, I can be great at it.
right.
And you compare that to something like when like watching somebody play like a Devil May Cry 5 or something where it's like I will just never be able to do these like 800 hit combos and score like 4 billion points like some of these guys on YouTube. But you watch somebody, like when you drop in your video playthrough of that one level, you go, I could do that, right?
Yeah.
All I gotta do is like I should have just looked left and shot this guy first instead of what I did,
Hmm.
and that's like that's what gaming's all about, brother. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What was your other choice for game of the year?
Oh, sure. Well, I don't want to hog, but I was really impressed by Pentiment.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
what
I have to play that.
Yeah, it's a game that it feels like a really complete thought.
Hmm.
Um, which and to speaking of things that don't happen in games often, that doesn't happen in games very often.
Right.
And it's like it is kind of like a AAA studio thing. Like it's by Obsidian, but it feels like it's kind of got that like classic, like I don't know, like indie spirit where like this doesn't feel compromised in any way. Um, and it's really just exactly what it is. Like it's kind of like a visual novel ish experience. There's like some side scrolling moving around, which admittedly gets a little tiresome, but yeah, I think it's a really incredible depiction of like 16th century Bavaria. Not that I know that much about that period. But like, if you like Name of the Rose, it is a big literary touchstone here. Like you're just gonna feel right at home. It's one of those games that like makes you want to go read other books that were inspired by it, or rather the other way, like that it was inspired by.
Right.
Like Josh Sawyer did this like big list of 5 books, and I'm like, dude, like I want to read all of these now. I mean, I already read like Name of the Rose, but um, a little like mind expandy in a way, not quite like Disco Elysium levels of like revelatory kind of like you know out of body experience like or whatever, but just a really, I feel like I'm saying a lot while saying nothing because I don't really want to spoil anything, but I really connected with the main character, um and the way you get to see this small town over 25 years is wild. It doesn't feel like anything I'd ever played before.
I feel like Card Shark also had this kind of like literary appeal to it, like where
Hmm.
a lot of other games don't seem to be influenced by books or like period films, um, or this like older style of speaking and writing, I would say. But
Hmm.
Card Shark also did that really well. Like the story it was telling and the way that it relayed that information um, felt a lot more similar to. It's cool that they're able to reach into different places and different time periods for influence rather than just going back to the 80s, which is like what most video games do when they're referring to another time period. um,
Right. Or like generic medieval Europe. Like this kind of
right.
is that, but it's so specific in its historical touchstones, and like every little moment feels deeply considered.
Mhm.
You compare it to like what Naoki Yoshida said about Final Fantasy 16, which is a game I'm excited about, but you're like, well, it's just like Final Fantasy castles. I don't know. Um, like whatever. You can have black people in there. It's probably cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and like yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was like stellar. Truly unlike anything I'd ever played before.
Devin, what food did you want to eat the most in Pentiment?
Um, the pottage.
Yeah, I agree. The pottage, mostly
Mm.
because I don't think I've ever had pottage anymore, and
No,
now
me
it just seems
neither.
like a nice warm little wooden bowl of something to slurp down.
Yeah, there's always like eating scenes. That's what Zach is referring to, where like you just get to pick who you want to chat and hang out with. But it's almost like kind of a risk because like time's always moving forward. So they do give you incentive to like replay it. Not that I don't know that I ever would. It's kind of long. I think that's maybe like my one big criticism of it is like it maybe felt like it could have ended a couple hours earlier, or just like a few conversations maybe could have been trimmed down, um, just here and there. Like I was definitely kind of ready, like, okay, let's move this along. But otherwise, yeah, I think Pentiment's really strong.
Did the ending like compel you to want to replay it? Because like, knowing certain things that it's not entirely clear of like if all roads lead to Rome, so to speak.
Yeah, I do think I'm pretty sure there's only like one ending per se, but like how you get there can change. Like, so you play this, it's kind of a detective story. You'll sort of like accuse some you can like interview people and accuse them of murder, and you have a lot of influence because you play as this person of privilege, um compared to like a lot of the peasants that live in this town of Kearsarge, um or not Kearsarge Abbey, right? Tassing is the village. um and so, like, depending on what choices you make, they can have kind of like large ramifications on the rest of the game. And because it's a game that takes place over three time periods across 25 years, like if you choose to kill somebody, they're dead, right? You're gonna miss all their conversations in, after the 9 year time skip or whatever it is. So, again, I typically just don't really replay games, but I think there's enough meat here that I could see myself doing it one day and try to pick different things.
Hmm. Yeah, we're watching some video of it, and the art style is just. I wish more games were influenced by stuff like this. It is not as like visually appealing, I want to say, as like something that's just more pretty and uh, influenced by, I guess, more extravagant art styles. But it's
Hmm.
like it's its own little world that I feel like would be really nice to get lost in for a bit, and definitely different than anything you tend to see in other games. And I do want more shit like that for sure.
Visually, it kind of hems to, certain 2D adventure games we've seen in recent history, but I also think it has very strong moments visually as well. Uh, the animations can be a little inconsistent. It's clear that like some moments got a lot more love than others,
Mm,
animation wise.
right.
Uh,
It's
but
kind of nice seeing an art style that pulls from, like in a video game, that pulls from the time in history when they hadn't really figured out the concept of perspective yet. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's fun watching a completely flat looking video game.
It's one of those things where, like, when I saw the trailer, I was initially kind of put off by how it looked, but once you get in there and you sort of get accustomed to it, um I personally like couldn't imagine it looking any other way.
Yeah. Matthew, how about you? What are your top games of the year? I know you said you basically only played Arceus.
I think that the only game I played this year that actually came out this year is Pokemon Arceus. Um, like looking through what else I played, all just I've a while since I felt the need with like new things coming out, any sort of like hype or I mean, there's I've what else did I play this year? I played the Resident Evil 2 remake. Um,
It's a good
because I was
game.
trying to get into streaming a little bit. Yeah, I had fun. I only played half of it. I finished Leon's
Hmm.
um like bit, and I know that the game doesn't finish until you actually like play the other half as well. Boy, I find video games exhausting. Like there's something very easy about how like I can be on an airplane and pull up Arceus and be like, I know I won't get lost. Like nothing is of consequence in this game. It's just so easy to just dip in and out. Um, but I've been replaying Fantasy Tactics Advance. I replayed the Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy Color. That was that holds up surprisingly well. That was a lot of fun. I started Persona 5 apparently in June. Yeah, that's a long one.
This was
Just
the year to like replay games,
Yeah, for sure.
Which is
or play old
wild
games.
because it was the time that like things were it wasn't the year that we were all stuck inside playing video games.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
we almost like had our fill of that, and now it's like maybe there's this backlog thing to take a look at.
And now it feels like
I did also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have anything of. I was also going to add. I also started playing In Other Waters on an airplane, and the flight attendant asked me about it, and I was 2 minutes into the game, and I did not say anything coherent because that is a hard game to explain to video game people. And the flight attendant was just like, "Oh, tell me about that." And I was like, "I don't know yet. It just started."
Wow.
Speaking
I
of
mean-
In Other Waters, we also got in Citizen Sleeper.
Yeah,
This
by
year.
a Superculture
Member.
member, I guess. I wasn't sure the word.
Yeah.
I really like Citizen Sleeper.
Yeah, it's great.
I sat down to play it not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. And it was like, man, wouldn't it be crazy if I finished this in one sitting? And I kind of did. Like I got it and done in two, and it's easy to get through.
Right.
It's like a snackable book almost.
Yeah, and I love the way that it's written. I love the art style. I think that Gareth did such a great job of writing this world. I mean, it's very obviously in Gareth's style if you're familiar with them, but it's just so neat to see that come through in a video game, and it's cool to see that come through with friends. Like I got to have that same sensation with Cantata earlier this year, although that's not like in its completely full finished form just yet. Just seeing your friends like come through in this writing is it's a really neat sensation, and it was really cool to see it in Citizen Sleeper. And the art and the gameplay itself is awesome. I love the dice roll system. I love that it's like this text adventure style thing that still uses like dice rolls and this kind of D&D inspired central mechanic to let you kind of do things based on what you roll. And it's like it's a little bit difficult to parse at first, but once you like understand what's going on, it feels like it just flows so well, and you're just like you're in this completely alien system that you are able to use with some semblance of familiarity, and you just feel like you can just extract so much more out of it because you're on that level with the game, and it feels like you're engaging in a really neat and interesting way, which is totally an illusion, but one that I think is pulled off perfectly.
Yeah, I got an ending that I was pretty happy with, and I was really surprised how fully formed that ending felt. Like usually games that offer a lot of endings, I guess this is just like a byproduct of this game being text driven, which is kind of like less expensive to generate. But a lot of times it's like, do you want to save her or do you want to like kill her or whatever? It's what I mean? Where it's like you finish a game and it's just like you get a binary choice, and they don't all feel like coherent with the game's like thesis or message. Whereas, I've only seen the one ending that I got, but it felt like fully realized and also a coherent realization of what the game is about, like life under capitalism, fascist, techno state, like whatever else. And yeah, I mean everyone I've talked to about it who's got like different endings kind of agrees. So yeah, it's just a really well realized experience from top to bottom.
Yeah. So that's another one. Zach or iCall, do you have any that you wanted to talk about?
You know, my game of the year is Dota, of course. It's the only game I played a long time. You know, second place, Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger in Paradise, Stranger of Paradise.
I
Sorry.
want to play that. I've got a copy.
It's good. I haven't played the DLC. The game doesn't really like outstay its welcome. I never after a certain point I stopped playing any of the side missions because none of them matter and the game is already pretty easy. But you know, I had a good time playing it with my nephew watching. He'd just like, you know, he'd be talking nonstop the entire time I played, saying, he's 4 years old. Are there any bad guys over there? I don't see any bad guys over here. I think you should look over there for some bad guys. I think you should turn that bad guy into a crystal. Can you turn that bad guy into a crystal? Oh, you turn that bad guy into a crystal. It was just like
That
that for
that's
hours.
basically equivalent to Jack himself, right? He's kind of like a single-minded, like I gotta
Exactly.
kill chaos kind of dude.
You know, my nephew
Yeah,
didn't care about chaos, but he did care about the bad guys and whether they were, you know, turning into crystal or not.
Hmm.
the game is like a gloriously knuckleheaded experience.
It's
I don't know.
genuinely pretty funny.
Yeah,
And
I
by the
mean,
end, I was also genuinely into the characters and I was, you know, feeling their struggles. I liked it, you know? You feel for the characters and it's funny. It's good stuff.
after all the like sort of sophistication and prestige Final Fantasy has gone through, this feels like a sort of a looking glass on what could have been. Um, it feels so much like the kind of anarchy and design days of like the PS3. Like there's all these new tools on the table and no one really knew what the right way to use them are. So like the control scheme is like all over the place on this thing. Uh, like the start button is the touchpad on the PS4 controller. It's
You
just
talk to people using the touchpad. You press the touchpad to talk to them instead of like X or something.
The towns are like menus, right?
Yeah.
That's so strange.
That's
yeah,
pretty old
it like
school.
no, it's beyond old
In
school.
a
It just
way.
feels like they swept everything off the table and it's just like what if we made a Final Fantasy game like it was still 2008 and you hadn't made any of the other Final Fantasy games that had come out since then? And it's very pure. It's very pure of heart. Um, and very much rocks in the brain, but also that's, you know, what makes it so uncanny and enjoyable. And the combat is like a rush, you know? Um,
It's like,
it's
what if Dirge of Cerberus turned out to be like the most popular game ever or something?
yeah.
This
I will
looks
say
And
one thing
you have all these
is
different classes and systems you can toy around with just to see like what'll make those annoying little goblins blow up better.
Sage, you know? I love the Sage in this, where if you cast like, you know, 3 black magic spells and 3 white magic spells, you can just obliterate everything on the screen. Felt good. But the loot is probably the worst thing I've ever seen in any game ever. Is anyone interacted with the
how
loot?
so.
It's
I
just
hear it's overabundant.
you get like 8 items from every single enemy that drops, and they're all like the same item except they've got bonuses, but the bonuses are like, oh, if you have this item equipped, it gives you plus 0.5% damage, or this item gives you plus 0.8% resistance to poison and stuff like that.
Now the good
And
news is the menu does your equipment menu does have like an auto button that'll
yes,
like automatically give you the most efficient weapon you've gathered. And to make it even better, it shows you what your character looks like in real time. So every time you press that button and you got a bunch of gear, you get to just see how much dumber your character is about to look uh, when you activate this. Like they're suddenly going to be covered in like more leather straps or like a top hat and like or maybe like a witch's hat. It really is like
I'm
it's a thrill a moment in just A mall culture thrill.
I am so torn between whether that sounds like this like the peak achievement of video games or exactly why I kind of hate video games because I can really see both sides of it. And it does make me want to play it. That
It is
sounds
pure. It
hilarious.
is pure, unadulterated video games. There's no delusions of grandeur. Like we're talking about, like how full of
And
itself
that's a good
games.
thing.
Yeah, we're talking about like how
Yeah.
full of itself like games like the God of War series have become. And if you want the complete opposite of that, something that's just more like honest about what exactly it is, never mind the fact that it stems from something like Final Fantasy, then this is it. Then you just it's you play as an angry man named Jack who shouts all the time, um, surrounded by basically Zoolander's friends. Um, and you just get progressively bigger swords. And every fight feels like either you're trolling the enemy or the enemy's trolling you.
This, I feel like we never learned our lesson, or I should say, I never learned my lesson, which is that like, anytime some kind of action game gets called broken or stupid or badly written, I need to just not pay attention. Because, like, how many God hands did I miss over the years because of what, like, initial reviews said? This is, like, I feel like this is. I need to play this fucking game right
You
now.
look like you're having a good time. I'm watching the video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm having a good time watching this trailer.
Yeah.
Matthew, I think you're having some audio interference or something.
It sounds like a
Oh,
fan
no.
placed in
Yeah.
front of your mic.
Oh, that might. Wait, is it still going?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if that's.
Kind of sounds like a
That might
choo-choo
just be my-
train is going by.
I think it just stopped.
Might.
It just stopped.
Yeah, you're good now.
Interesting. I didn't do anything. I don't know what happened.
It like kind of starts and stops, but maybe if you want to just like unmute when you want to talk
Yep.
and then like mute between.
Oh yeah,
right.
totally.
But yeah, my two favorite games of the year have like basically both already been mentioned, and they're kind of like spiritual opposites, but they're both very confident in what they are and very coherent in their vision, and that is Stranger of Paradise and Pentiment. I mean, they're both scratching completely different itches, but they
Yeah.
both feel like games that are exactly what they set out to be. Um, Pentiment does remind me of Disco Elysium, not just because it's like a well-written detective game, but it also kind of uses your expectations of a detective game against you in the fact that you are a really shitty detective. At the outset of Pentiment, you like choose a bunch of like stats and specialties that'll like uh, decide like what your character studied before you started playing the game. And you might expect those things would like make you more adept to certain like clues or hints or dialogue paths, but I found they just make you a more specific kind of asshole. Like if you decide like you're an expert in theology, because this is a game set in a monastery, that seems like something that would probably be pretty helpful. Mostly it just unlocks dialogue options where you sarcastically quote the Bible.
I
Like
mean,
the sound of that.
honestly, like what you're describing, Zach, this is the real power of video games that Jeff Keighley won't tell you about. You know, the fact that you could have Pentiment and Stranger of Paradise as both of your games of the year and have that make like total and complete sense that's the magic of video games to me. You know?
Yeah, it's pure gaming. Like
Yeah,
God of War isn't pure gaming.
it's not.
It just isn't. Stranger of Paradise is pure gaming. It is. It is using its shape and its form. It is using its clay to be the most it can be. And I felt the same way about No More Heroes 3 last year.
Right.
And that like, if video games are like a magician's hat, why are we just like pulling out realistic mailboxes out of them over and over again? You can do so much with your time here. You can do so much with this technology. You can bring anything to life, and instead we're always hemming toward this like uh, a specific, you know, dumb vision that, you know, the peak of video game, the pinnacle of video games is like a serious-ish Norse fantasy. Like the highest prestige a video game can shoot for is like one of the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, and even then, it's like God of War feels even less confident in that now than it did in 2018. Like it feels so much more Marvel film quippy and stuff, and like
Well, it's just along the like assembly line of like Sony refusing to make anything but the four video games they're making.
yup, that's where we that's the universe we live in, folks. Um,
You're
I
never
th-
gonna
What
get another Twisted Metal. You're certainly not gonna get a Parappa, and you're definitely not getting a Tomba.
they're doing a Twisted Metal TV show.
Oh yeah, we'll get lots of TV shows. We'll get like
Last of
Amazon
Us.
just like buying the rights. It's like, you know, remember the early 2000s when everyone's like Ang Lee owns the rights to the Metroid movie? It's gonna be that for everything, and it's split between like Amazon and HBO Max.
Y'all remember the Last of Us remake?
Oh my
Which
goodness.
That was
one?
this year. That was this year.
The PS5 one, yeah.
The PS5 remake.
There's
Set-
the future of the PlayStation is just like trapped in this time ebb of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And apparently they're doing it for Horizon Zero Dawn as well.
Yeah, I think
Great.
weirdly the most shocking video game news I read this year is that apparently they are actually making Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah,
Right.
and
They had the
the
leaks.
prototype got leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like I mean they just kept remaking that for like what, 3 straight like console generations? I might be exaggerating, but it
Well,
sure feels that way.
it's not quite as
Hey.
bad as Skyrim, but it's definitely the runner-up. Because we
Yeah,
got
did they ever
are we,
make a-
are we getting a Skyrim remake or something? If not, if they haven't confirmed that, it must be just around the corner.
I mean, I hope not. I've had enough
Yeah.
Skyrim releases over the years. Let's move on. I want to talk about Elden Ring, but I'll do that with the next group. 'cause
Is that your goatee?
I honestly haven't even figured out what my goatee is, but it could be.
You've been hard on that Marvel Snap.
I mean, it's a great game, but I don't think I would feel bad calling a card game my goatee because I'm obviously biased, and it's not a bad end pick, you know.
Hmm.
I
No
haven't.
Legends of Runeterra.
You know what? Ask Libra Revision is pretty.
Oh
lit.
yeah, this
That
game.
That game is pretty lit. Highly recommend that if you like JRPGs, dumb JRPG action RPG things. Pretty similar to Stranger of Paradise, probably, but with like that aesthetic that Kyle referred to so lovingly as quote shit. After I tried to describe it as like Final Fantasy IV mobile game version aesthetic. Let's see. We have a couple
Games like Marvel Snap and Splatoon 2 are like the games I sank the most hours in, but I get what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah, it's like just because you spent a lot of time with the game doesn't mean it's like the best game. I think there's more to it than that.
like giving a Michelin star to popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. Or hot dogs, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go for like a couple questions. We got some questions. What is the closest thing in video games to Avatar: Way of the Water?
Duke Nukem Forever, isn't that it?
Horizon.
Horizon's pretty close. To
Yeah,
me,
I mean, like,
yeah, go ahead.
no, go for it. I was just gonna say, like, aesthetically, like, they're very like 1-to-1, but also just like in terms of people being like, oh man, like, this is such a deep cutting political message, and you're like, what, dude? They're just saying like some real basic stuff about imperialism in in an Avatar, and then Horizon is just like this like a fake Elon Musk character.
Yeah, also like
Like whatever.
very quietly and also like kind of loudly a game that got a lot of attention to the point where you were kind of surprised at how much attention it got, to the point where it got a sequel that you weren't necessarily expecting. I think that's also consistent with that too.
And also sort of like also like passed by, right? Like I remember Horizon 1 came out and then Breath of the Wild came out right next to it, and that was all anyone talked about. And then similarly again with this year, Forbidden West, it came out right next to Elden Ring, which was all anybody talked about. And Avatar like is it's this weird thing where it sold super well, but we don't really look back at Avatar as like
Yeah.
In that kind of echelon of movie,
Yeah, not at all. Not even close to like James Cameron's other movies.
No, it's no Criterion Channel pick. That's what I'm saying.
Another question. The quote new gen has been out for 2 years now. PS5 released November 2020. And is there really any distinguishing factor for why people should buy new systems?
Do you like frame rate, and do you not have enough money to get a PC?
Yeah.
Do you want
then-
a really ugly white obelisk in your living room?
Yes,
I hate that. I kind of like how it looks.
I do too. I like it.
I saw one in person for the first time yesterday in somebody's house, and it's unsightly to me. Like it's just way too big, dude.
Every time I look
it looks
at
like
mine,
a pool toy. You don't know what it does though. Like
It's just-
floating
it
at
might
the
be the
public
most-
pool.
I mean, it's definitely one of a glorious return to like when video game consoles could look real embarrassing.
That's true.
Engage hours.
It reminds me of the PS3, the
Yeah.
original, the OG PS3.
I
It's
like
got that
that it's not
banana
just a
controller energy.
rectangle.
Hmm.
Sorry, Matt.
That's okay.
Yeah, like the
Wait, no,
Xbox Series
I
X.
agree with you. I agree with you. Wait.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of talked over you.
Not at all.
No, the Series X, like you look at it, it's literally just a rectangle. It's just like a stretched cube. People called it a garbage can, and yeah, it kind of looks like one. Whereas the PS5, it doesn't really look like anything else. Like, yeah, it's vaguely rectangular, but also like weirdly misfigured. I don't know.
It looks Overwatchy.
Oh God, you're gonna make me dislike it now.
It has
Oh,
the PS. It has the like the first the pre-slim model PlayStation console thing where like it looks too big. Like they needed to fit in shit and they needed space for it, so they had to just stuff it in. But they're clearly gonna make it smaller later.
Hmm.
It has that bloated look to it. Like the PS5 Slim is gonna look dope for sure.
It's an engineering marvel. Haven't you watched the videos where the Sony engineers are like, it swooped like this to go and encourage airflow to keep it cool?
I was gonna say, who told you that? The PS5 engineers.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, they haven't
Christ.
really done a good job of justifying like these consoles.
Not at all.
No, I mean, like, why would you get a PlayStation or an Xbox? I mean, feels like the Switch makes the best case for itself, and it's like not even banking on any sort of next gen hardware.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this sorry. I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about like the like there's no like like sort of like big AAA like the market sorry newer. You don't really see like the release like revolving around like there's like a sort of like AAA single player like adventure you can sink your teeth into like anymore. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what they even come out on anymore. It's like kind of the same thing where it's like I don't know what is on PS5 or the new Xbox that I still can't remember the name of. Like I couldn't just have some kind of access to with what I already have. And yeah, I mean like the turning point's going to be like eventually, there will be something on it, but it's kind of wild that it's been 2 whole years and
I mean,
there's just like nothing to say about it.
it's funny to think that like because Sony's so determined to like make this one cycle of video games that if you haven't already been convinced by these 5 games they put on the PS5, then what new market do they expect it to have here if it's just going to be the same 5 pieces of software over and over again?
I remember
Well,
this
and
happening
also-
when like the PS4 and stuff came out, but it didn't feel like it lasted this long back then. I remember there was a whole like, oh, the PS4, it's not backwards compatible. It's like, what's the point of this? What justifies this system? But that conversation kind of ended in not a very long amount of time, and now it still feels like we don't even know these things are out. Like Josh was just saying, oh, I saw a PS5 for the first time the other day. It's been out for 2 years.
There's all this hubbub about like new Xbox games going up in price to $70. When's the last time you bought one? When's the last time it didn't just go straight to Game Pass anyways?
Yeah, especially one that you actually cared about. Like that's their whole value proposition now, is that it's like it seems to be cannibalizing itself in a way where they're like, oh, the latest games are on Game Pass for your PC. Also, so if you have PC, you can do it on there. But yeah, because but you don't need to do it on the Xbox. But if you have an Xbox, it's so cool. Like it's this weird. They're trying to get everybody's monthly money, but they also kind of want to sell consoles. But now it's not as big of a deal to them. And then like the PlayStation 5 is in another realm where they're like they haven't really gotten there, but they're still trying to get there. I don't know, man. There's definitely no real great value proposition there still. But what I also still find funny about all that whole thing is that I still kind of want a PS5. I'm like,
Because you're a gamer, Josh.
I want to play Returnal.
You're a gamer. You can't shake it.
I
Returnal's
managed to
good.
not play Returnal for 3 years or 2 years or however long it's been, but well, maybe I still need to.
I feel like when Final Fantasy 16 comes out, that's like the big first. You gotta have a PS5.
You don't think it'll be out on PS4? I mean,
No.
it won't. Oh, okay.
I think
Death Stranding prequel comes out for the PS7. That's when you're going to have to get a PS5.
Yeah, my fucking Death Stranding Force machine. Let's talk about. wanted to talk about some anime, so let's wrap up with some anime here.
Ooh.
I'll say one quick thing about the previous topic. I think, because of COVID and because of chip shortages, basically every game developer was like, I don't want to make a PS5 game. I want it to be on PS4 and be slightly better on PS5. So probably if that hadn't happened, we'd be seeing more worthwhile PS5 exclusive games at this point because there'd be more consoles.
Maybe that's possible. I definitely think that was, one of the things that we were talking about at the beginning was like this COVID aftermath, and I could definitely see it rearing its head in that way. But yeah, anime. What's up? What you got?
Well,
what's the question?
iCall's
my
going to talk
question?
about some anime of the year.
Oh hell yeah, let's go.
Did anyone have any anime of the year before I go off through the whole year?
Spy Family.
Spy Family. Chainsaw Man.
I like the manga better when I was reading it compared to watching the show, so I never watched
actually
more than
gonna-
like 4 episodes.
Sorry, I was actually gonna say I'm gonna jump off because I have not watched any anime. I have even less to contribute to that. So
Well, it was beautiful talking with you.
All right, Devin.
yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Do you want to plug anything before you head off?
Oh, wait. No, that was me saying that. Unless wait, is Devin?
Oh,
also
so
Yeah,
doing
that
Matthew.
was Matt.
Sorry.
Oh.
Matthew, do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh my god, anything I want to plug?
If not, that's fine.
Yeah, not at the moment. I write poetry about video games that I texted my girlfriend about, and she was like, "Please stop texting me about video games." And then I turned it into poems instead. So I have a few of those published places. So
Go, dude.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Right on,
thanks
man.
for
Nice
having
meeting
me.
you.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
See ya. Sorry, Devin.
Oh, no
I thought I
worries.
saw your lighting up with that, but
Oh
okay.
yeah, probably did.
Spy Family, Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I didn't watch
fucking-
Chainsaw Man. I want to read it, and I'm stuck. I'm still reading Berserk, and I feel like I can only do like one at a time.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, I was actually just at a friend's house, and he wanted to watch Chainsaw Man. I'm not like fully caught up, but I watched. We ended up watching like the first 8 or 9 episodes like in a row, and I was just like, man, this shit just goes down so easy.
Yeah, it really
I don't know.
does.
I don't really know what to say about it. It's just, it's very enjoyable to watch. It's not like structurally perfect or anything. Like, I wish we got more in the way of like the assassin lady, Yor being an assassin, right? Like, usually just like beats guys up. Um, but like, it's just fun. It's very inventive and strange.
Yep.
I feel like everyone else is just gonna be Chainsaw Man though.
Spy Family is pretty huge. I could
Yeah.
see it being big. On year-end lists. Let's see. Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I was not expecting to like that at all, and I just like slurped that thing down.
It was
How many
like
episodes is it? 12?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
It's it also just showed like it was everything I wished that the Cyberpunk game was.
Yeah.
Like it covered so much of the same territory, like thematically, but just did it so much better. And
With characters that are easy to like,
yeah,
which I think is, I mean, I only played a little bit of Cyberpunk 2077, but like I just didn't care about anybody.
yeah,
Which is weird for coming from the studio that brought you Geralt.
yeah, exactly.
But like, yeah, I don't know. They kind of worked those guys. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Icall?
No, it's been on my list, but I think just because did it come out in like a block, like all at once?
Yeah, it's a Netflix production,
Yeah,
so they
I
just
think I
did
was
the
only watching
simultaneous drop.
like weekly stuff for throughout most of the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. So what else?
I still
we
haven't
got?
watched what is it, Star Wars Visions? I heard good things about that, and I do want to get to it at some point.
I wasn't big on it.
Oop, never mind then. I'll
Not, I'm
skip
sorry,
it.
not to. I mean, but you go. Yeah, maybe you like it. I was pretty disappointed too with that Ghibli Star Wars thing that came out a few weeks ago. Like I said, this where it's just like a basically it's I called it like an animated logo. It's
I
just kind
saw
of like why this could have been an email, guys. I don't know. He didn't need to hype this up.
that.
What about you, any Josh? You got any ones?
Yeah, it was basically Cyberpunk. Dress Up
Hmm.
Darling was that this year?
Yep, that was this winter.
Jesus.
What's that one about?
Uh,
Dress Up Darling is about two high school students where one is a guy who has grown up in a very conservative home who wants to become a doll maker just like his grandfather. And the other is a girl who is like, a Gyaru type who is super popular, but she's actually also extremely into otaku culture and cosplaying. And then they meet where basically she wants to make cosplay, but she's terrible at it. And he, who has never made life-size human clothes before, has all the skills necessary to make clothes for her. And, they have a symbiotic relationship where they have a great time together.
Is it kind of like slice of lifey?
yeah, it's very
Hmm.
slice of lifey, and the the main theme of the show is essentially like these two people who have nothing in common except for the fact that they both understand each other's passion for these very niche
Exactly.
topics and or hobbies. And so they both like respect and appreciate each other for that. And because of that, there's this kind of like budding romance, at least romantic vibe between the two. That is funny. It's usually suggestive because it involves like, and or like sexually tense because he's making clothes for her that she tries on, and she's very, she's not self-conscious at all, but so she kind of like owns her own like sexiness or whatever. But I think that's what's kind of fun about it is that the characters act in ways that are like realistic of, you know, younger of like teens and whatnot. And it's not like super, I don't know. It's the main character isn't just like some creeper who's trying to like see this girl naked or something like that. It's they're both just like people.
The show is like, you know, about sexuality in some senses, but it's not a sexy show, you know? Which
yeah.
is good. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's also like really funny. It's the
Yeah.
main thing to me is it's just like fucking hilarious.
Also, it looks really great. Like, it's a really nice looking show.
Yeah.
the only other thing I would contribute to the anime subject is that like this is the year I got pretty into One Piece. I know you did too, Josh.
Yeah. God, I really wish that I had watched more and or caught up. But you know what? It's about the journey. It's not about
Oh,
where
did
it ends.
you fall off?
I've somewhat fallen off, but I've always expected to like watch in large chunks because you can't just watch. I don't know. I don't want to just watch it all in a couple months, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with like some of these arcs that are just so damn good. I like that they like give you space between them to kind of like let it process and do something different.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's like a perfect show in so many ways. Like obviously flawed,
Yeah.
but it's great.
Yeah, I'm at Skypiea. So I'm at like 178 or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm loving this arc. I feel you. Like I hit the brakes hard during Alabasta,
Mm-hmm.
which for me just kind of dragged.
Yeah.
And I wasn't into the setting. I liked Vivi, but like I don't know, a lot of those kind of perfunctory characters just weren't doing it for me. This is getting me going. Like I basically watch like 4 episodes a night.
Okay, that's interesting because I know a lot of people hate Skypiea. I will say
Interesting.
I didn't dislike Skypiea, but what happens after Skypiea is like
Way better.
150 episodes of straight fire. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Skypiea like works for me, I guess, just because I like Sky Islands, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I like Castle in the Sky.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite Ghibli. You know, excited for that new Zelda. So it's like, okay, it's like an anime arc with these characters I already like, set in this setting where you're trying to figure out like how do they translate the like mechanics of One Piece to a world where there is water, but it's kind of different.
Right.
Is a lot of fun. And like one of the things I've been trying to figure out why this one works for me and why Alabasta didn't, because they both do the thing where like, and maybe this is just common in One Piece, but they both do the thing where characters basically split up, and so you're watching like part of the appeal of One Piece is them hanging out.
Yeah.
So when they're apart, it's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
But here, I don't know. I find like the antics and hijinks they get up to be pretty compelling. And you know, I think like the war that's happening on in the background maybe isn't like I forget what they're called, the Solarians or something like that. It's maybe not the most compelling thing in the world, granted, so maybe that's why people are kind of like about Skypiea, but yeah, I don't know. One Piece. It's kind of like all I can think about lately.
Okay, well I'm stoked for you to get to the stuff that happens after, because after that is like Water 7, but before that there's like really good filler, like extremely good filler.
I liked the filler after Alabasta. Like I thought it was fun.
Yeah, same. But the one after this is like also really good.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited.
So
I've started getting like recommended freaking videos of stuff that happens later on.
I know that's the hard part about One Piece, is that like you're always going to see stuff that spoils big plot points for you in a way. But
Yeah,
it's
it's
alright.
like kind of fine because it's a
It comes with
shonen,
the
so like
territory.
obviously like they win all the time at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the whole point of the show too. It's like
How
you could know it's going to happen, but like the whole point of the show is just like watching these characters hanging out and having fun and like
Yeah.
go through these like moments of catharsis with each other, and when it and seeing like how their relationships are fleshed out is the real satisfying stuff. And you're going to get to some of that like so soon. It's fuck.
And it does have a built-in mystery, which is the premise of the show, like going to find the One Piece. And it's kind of wild that like people still don't know. Like, the show, I know the manga is coming to an end. I don't know if that's next year or the year after that or whatever, but like there's like a part of me that kind of wants to catch up, at least with the show, probably
Yeah.
not the manga, just to like be there when they cross the finish line.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. And I wanted to see the
how
new
far-
movie and everything.
Dude, I
God.
almost went to see it, but like I don't have because they played it in a few theaters around me, but like
Mhm.
I don't like know all like I don't know the skeleton guy yet. Like I don't know
Yeah.
the robot cyborg man.
Yeah, it's
How far did you make it, Josh, before you dropped?
I just finished the Thriller arc, like the spooky one, the spooky arc.
Is that
Where
like
you meet the
how
skeleton
many
guy.
episodes is that?
It's a lot. It's like, for me it was the hardest one to get through, just because like I did not, it like depends whether you like the setting and where they are and stuff, and it was
Mhm.
not like doing it for me.
Hmm.
But I'm excited about what's next. Also, we just got a comment from Self-Aware Pedant. Clicks on Goaty video. It's about One Piece. The world is healing.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to bring that energy.
Okay, let's wrap up. Ika, give us your picks.
Okay, I'm just gonna zoop on through. I'll even post my list of things that I watched from this year.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. From the winter
Cute.
season, Dress Up Darling was good. The Orbital Children.
I
Have you
love
watched
Orbital Children.
Deno Coil?
I haven't, but I really want to, because I loved Orbital Children.
Yeah. I feel like Deno Coil and Orbital Children have the same problem, which is that it's like, wow, the character's really interesting. I love the setting. I love the world. I love the tech. And then everything becomes magic so fast
Mhm.
that it kind of annoyed me a bit.
I loved that about it.
Well, then you might like Deno Coil as well.
Because it's like it's magic, but it's also like at the level of technology in the future, like it will be indistinguishable from magic, to the point where like we it's literally has to be beyond our comprehension to get to that point. And like I think it does a really good job of manifesting that in a way that like seems to make sense. I don't know, but I could see why it feels like a bit of, it's jumping beyond, something that is relatable, for sure.
Overall, I liked it. But
Mhm.
okay, if you just want to go for like some tops of the year,
Yeah.
Summertime Render from this summer, extremely good. Hopefully, people will be able to watch it if Disney ever puts it on Disney Plus, not in Japan. Um, from earlier in the year, Inuo, the movie, the Masaki Yuasa movie, the last one
Oh
that he did
yeah.
as part of I think it's still part of Science Saru. Extremely good. Amazing to see it in theaters. The exclamation marks are mine. Do you know what that one's about, Josh?
Does it have something to do with a dog?
No. Also, I misspelled it. You're gonna want the U in there for Inuo. Um,
What is it
I
about?
saw a trailer for this.
yeah, throw on a trailer for it. Basically, it's about it's sort of like set in the time of like the Heike Monogatari, that sort of thing. But it's about a sort of a monster type person, Inuo, who, longs to be, a no dancer, longs to be on the stage with a boy who is blind, who, longs to become a musician. And they team up and they basically rock the world. It's sort of like a weird like rock opera set in ye olde Japan. And it
Whoa.
looks really good. It sounds really amazing. And it just goes places that you aren't expecting it to go, given that it's set in ye olde Japan, basically.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, if it's Yuasa, like you gotta give it a shot. You know.
It has some basically like music scenes where they're like playing to a crowd and it just goes on so much longer than you're expecting because they're playing a full song and a full performance. And I never got tired of it.
Well, I mean, if those Snow White notes is any indication, watching shamisen played uh, in anime is very watchable.
So true. Um, Other great things, yeah. Summertime Render is just like an extremely, extremely good, extremely watchable, sort of science fiction-y action show with like, it's got some mystery. It's, about a person who's looping, stuck in a time loop, trying to go and figure out how to get to the end with all of his friends alive, that sort of thing. Extremely cool, extremely good. Um, blah, 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 blah.
Apparently, Inuo's VA is the person who sang the Devilman Crybaby theme.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Okay. Sorry. Go on.
From the spring season, there was some really amazing stuff. There was Danse Danse Danseur, which was a show about a boy in junior high who used to be really into ballet, but he thought it was, lame now. But then, a cute girl wants to get back into ballet with him, so he does it, and you know what? He discovers that he loves it all over again. And it's just so damn good looking, and it's got some really sick ballet. Gotta watch it. From earlier in the year, Osama Ranking Part 2. One of the, kind of a letdown. Too racist. Didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot.
Ranking
Yeah.
of Kings. Yeah.
I tried to watch that. I wasn't big into it.
It's so
I think
sad, man, because I fucking love the first part of it, and it just like kind of dropped the ball at the end. It's really unfortunate, but it happens.
it happens and it happened. Um, uh, a Cubby-chan sailor uniform was probably my favorite thing from the winter season. It was really good, extremely slice of life. It's about a girl who lives in the country, who goes to an all-girls school, and it's just one of the prettiest shows I've watched. Can't recommend that one enough, even though I don't think many people have watched it. Um,
I watched the first like episode, and it was a bit too. It just wasn't. It was too cute for me. Not that I'm
mhm.
against cuteness, but I just there's nothing wrong with the show. It was really cool, but
Yeah,
I tried
it's
watching
sweet.
Nichijou, I think, this year. And I kind of got that vibe, Josh. Like, it was like, I know a lot of people loved it, but
whoa, that's your tread carefully. Katie's not here, but she
I didn't
loves
like
Nichijou.
Nichijou either
all
when I
right, all right.
watched
This
it.
is the hater circle for Nichijou.
But I love Boy Nichijou. Danshi Kokosei no Nichijou. Very good. Have either of
Didn't
you
even know
watched
that
it?
existed.
Okay, so
No,
it's not
sorry.
related to Nichijou at all. It just
Okay.
happens to be called The Daily Lives of High School Boys. So, this boy Nichijou. And it's just like it's based on a 4 gag strip, and it's just extremely funny. You know?
Yeah.
Watch it. Everyone out there,
Mm.
watch it. Um, Summer season didn't have that. Well, it was summertime render. That was the good thing from the summer season. And then this season, it's actually got like a ton of crazy stuff. I've been enjoying the hell of Blue Lock, even though I mentioned in the Discord, haven't heard many people talk about the anime, but it's sick, Josh. It's got some great, um, sports anime ecstasy moments.
I watched the first episode and it was like, this is a lot. It's a lot. I'll watch more, but the Squid Game survival game thing is, after watching Kaiji, like, and Squid Game, how much survival game do I really want in my life?
Enough. I'd watch Batum again. I'd read Liar Game again. It's a great concept. It
I
makes the
tried
sports that much
playing.
sweeter.
I tried playing Danganronpa this year, and yeah, I was just kind of like burnt out on the premise from the word go. Just in this kind of like survival game kind of thing.
Hmm.
I'm ready for Danganronpa 3. It came out like 8 years ago. I haven't played it
Yeah,
yet.
that one's old. Yeah.
High School Boys Life. It's extremely dudes rock. First ep has them getting bored and cross-dressing, not because of gender, just bored.
It's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Did y'all read Goodbye Airy High? Is that what it's
No.
called? Hang on. I might have the name wrong. Goodbye
Oh.
Eri is what it's called. That's
Oh,
the Fujimoto one
Yeah.
shot that came out this year. I don't know why I thought it was called Eri High. Yeah, that was he's the guy that did Chainsaw Man. And this was actually my intro to, I guess, the Fujimoto verse. I thought that this was pretty amazing. I don't know if you read this, Josh.
no.
I've been reading Fire Punch, and I like the first volume of that. I don't think that one's gonna get an anime, so I'm gonna read that. Anyway, my opinion on Chainsaw Man is the first 3 episodes weren't that great. Um,
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Do
why
you
I
think
want
it
to
gets
read it.
better?
I feel like I've heard like enough middling
All
things about the
everything
anime.
since the third episode has been dope.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hmm.
I'll give it another try then.
Dude,
Um,
the the most, not this week's episode, but last week's episode had like some of the best animation I've seen. I liked it better than Demon Slayer's animation. Like, obviously had money to spend, but I feel like I like the way that it depicts motion better. I don't know. And I also like that the action in the show isn't like narrated all the time like most shonen. It's very just like let the action happen. I'm almost like waiting for them to say like he's so fast or something like that, but it never comes. But you're thinking he's so fast.
He just
Ugh. In the time that I yeah. It's dope. It's dope. And it's like it's not afraid to kill characters. Not that makes the show good per se, but it's nice to feel like anything can happen in the plot.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, like, I did not stick it with Attack on Titan at all, but like those first 10 episodes or so, there was like a real sense of like stakes in a way that you don't get a lot from popular anime.
Yeah, this Attack on Titan is good. Is so good, dude. Like, I hate to say it, but that show, it's gone to a place where I'm just like, all right, we're here. Like the stakes are as big as they can possibly be, and it feels like anything can happen, and it's the shit.
I'm looking forward to the final season, part 3.
The
You
yeah,
know?
final / underscore final. Yeah, same.
But what else was I gonna say? I was just gonna say that for Chainsaw Man, I was like, you know, high expectations just because it's been hyped up so much. And then I was like, it's gonna be like a big budget, whatever. I'm excited to just like watch something really nice looking. And then I was like, this looks nowhere near as good as Jujutsu Kaisen. That's too bad. So it's just one of those things where I have to, recalibrate my expectations and be like, you know what? This isn't going to be the best looking show of the season. We've got Mob Psycho already and Bocchi the Rock already. So this is, if it's a third, then that's good enough, probably.
I haven't seen Bocchi the Rock.
It's, it's like a slice of life about a girl who's a big introvert who is asked to join a band and comes out of her shell or whatever, maybe. But it's just like, it's extremely funny. It looks like so good, like lots of like in-camera zooms, lots of like, great acting, lots of good facial expressions, lots of like, I was just watching like episode 3 and there was like, mixed media of, her like, singing and, thinking about, real life fields and stuff like that. Like, it's just super inventive and really fun. Like, I don't know. I can't recommend that enough based on the first few episodes that I've seen.
All right.
Yeah. So anime is good,
I agree.
That's my opinion. A lot of good stuff this year that I really, really was into.
Much to run through.
Yeah.
And always, if you run out, there's always One Piece. In fact, I would recommend watching One Piece before every other anime.
I'm gonna finish. I've only watched 2 seasons of Golden Kamui, and then season 4 is already airing. So,
Okay, you got to catch up on that. All right.
I know
Exactly.
somebody that like is so adamant that you should read Golden Kamuy, not watch it. That they're like, don't even talk to me if you watched it.
Well, the anime owns, so the manga must be really good.
So I hear.
Or it's really
Here's-
bad, or you'll think it's really bad.
Yeah. Those kind of like built up expectations kind of things. See, like One Piece, I didn't have any expectations for. I kind of assumed I wasn't gonna like it.
Same. Totally same.
And then it was like, oh, this is the blueprint of storytelling.
Yeah.
Dude, like I was just like watching this video, speaking of like watching spoilers on YouTube, of like all the ways Oda like threaded in ideas for characters and their backstories that get paid off like 500 episodes later. It's like apparently he's been thinking about this world since he was like a child.
It
Um,
totally. I could totally see. I've tried to think about this like logistically into my head. Like, how would you have possibly done this shit? Because like they're referring to characters that they haven't like brought up in such a long time, and it's really just like, maybe it's like, oh, this character just still exists in this world, and I still remember this person, and you should too. And then he just brings them back, and you're like, God, I wanted to see this person again. Let's catch up. It feels like you're meeting an old friend or something. It just cares about its characters. Like they don't just disappear and go into nothingness.
yeah, like they after the Alabasta arc, Crocodile's dead. And you
Mhm.
get this like very brief scene of the other, I forget what they're called, like the warlords.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, I can't wait in 250 episodes for this domino to begin to fall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just it feels so like expertly orchestrated. It kind of boggles the mind.
Yeah, it flexes its scale like that all the time, where it's like you just watched this 200 episode arc and he was fighting one guy, and then he's like one of 7 guys like at this
Yeah.
level. And you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, like I started reading Berserk this year,
Yeah.
and I felt like the way obviously everybody talks about this, but the Golden Age arc kind of paid off a thing that I don't even think initially Kentaro Miura was setting up with Guts's like extreme disdain for Griffith, yet you start to understand why Guts is the way he is at the beginning of that manga after this like epic long journey throughout his entire life. And it's just like, man, I don't even know how you begin to imagine this like grand level of granular detail. It's really staggering.
Yeah.
And One Piece is doing that at like, it's less about character development, more about like the world, but it's still there's like a grandiosity of like realization. I'm also playing like Final Fantasy 14 a little bit in the background.
They're
And
totally
like
companion pieces to me. Like,
I
see them both in the same realm because they don't forget about their characters. Like, the whole world is important. But yeah, I need to eat some food before the round 2. So
Yeah,
do it, man.
it was nice chatting.
Nice
Happy
chatting.
to be on the podcast.
Thanks for being on the Game of
Definitely,
the Year
man.
2022 episode. This has been episode number 118. I think I'm going to split this into 2 episodes and release them in a couple different weeks because this is already a whole ass episode. But yeah,
nice.
For all of you here, thanks so much for listening to Bad End Podcast. Sorry we've missed you for so long. We'll probably be off for a couple of weeks at the beginning of January as well because I will be actually in Japan. But once I get back, we'll be back to regularly scheduled programming, hopefully with Kyle. If not, then without for a minute. But Kyle he is planning on coming back. But yeah, again, the show is possible thanks to listeners like yourself. If you want to be one of our illustrious in our illustrious Discord, check it. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/badend. And we will see you in about a week or 2 whenever I put out the next episode. So thanks to Ikaw, thanks to Devin, and thanks to Zach for the cameo appearance.
That's me.
Y'all have been great. And is there anything that you wanted to plug?
You can just follow me at Risotto Stone on Twitter. Josh and I, we always chat about this, but working on videos. I do a little bit of YouTube on the side, and gonna start churning out a couple things that I'm pretty excited about. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter to keep up with those. Otherwise, just hang out online, whatever. Subscribe to the Super Culture Discord. It's truly a one of my favorite places online to hang out.
The new issue of Lock On has launched its campaign to fund, and it's got all these fun little goodies. If you enjoyed games like Immortal or Cult of the Lamb, we got some excellent little treats in there for our deluxe edition. And if you don't get the deluxe edition, we got lots of writing. Our good friend Reed will be writing about Postal in an extensive feature. In the kind of standard edition of the new issue. And also, speaking of Lost in Cult, I have a very fun secret project cooking up with them for the new year that has just moved forward today. And if you follow me at Zach Coates, you'll be seeing more updates about that in the near future.
Thanks, Zach. And go check out Lock On, of which Zach is an editor. And
yes.
That's it. Yeah?
Right on, man. Great being on here. Great finally getting to talk to you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Play Linda Cube when the fan translation drops. My game of the year.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, and Garage Bad Dream Adventure is also a very good game. Not my top spot, but everyone played that new port that's on Steam. It's real good.
All right. Thank you, and see you in 2023.
Adios.
Bye.